Welcome back to HaloShift, where we peer into the future and dissect the tech that's shaping our tomorrow. If you're fascinated by what's next in the world of innovation, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss the shift. For the last 20 years, our world has been defined by the screen. From our laptops to our phones, our lives have been a series of taps, swipes, and pinches. We are the generation of the GUI, the Graphical User Interface. But what if the next great leap in computing isn't a new screen, but the complete absence of one? Imagine a computer that you never look at, an operating system that exists in the air around you, responding not to your touch, but to your voice. A future where open a window isn't a click of a mouse, but a command spoken into the room. Today, we are diving deep into the next great frontier of AI and human-computer interaction. We'll explore the monumental leap from GPT-4 to the newly released GPT-5 and how its newfound reasoning power is a fundamental step toward an auditory future. We'll talk about a world where Windows itself could become a voice-only interface and what that means for how we live, work, and create. Get ready to shift your perspective on what a computer can be. Let's be honest, the last few years have been a whirlwind. We went from a curiosity with chatbots to a global obsession with generative AI. The release of OpenAI's GPT-4 was a landmark moment, a quantum leap in a single year that gave us an AI that could reason, write code, and pass exams with a shockingly high degree of competence. But for all its brilliance, GPT-4 and its peers like Claude and Gemini were still largely trapped in a box. A text box, to be precise. You type, it types back. You upload an image, it describes it. The interaction, for all its sophistication, was still screen-bound and largely transactional. It was a step forward in intelligence, but still bound by old interfaces. Then came GPT-5. OpenAI's latest model, which has just been released, is being described by its creators not just as a smarter version of its predecessor, but as a completely different kind of intelligence. If GPT-3 was like talking to a high school student and GPT-4 was like a college student, GPT-5 is being hailed as a PhD-level expert. It has more than just raw knowledge, it has a new kind of reasoning and what OpenAI calls agentic capabilities. This means it can break down multi-step problems, remember context over longer conversations, and even perform complex tasks that would have required a human to manually intervene just a few months ago. Crucially, GPT-5 also has significantly improved multimodal abilities, which means it's better at processing and generating information across text, image, and most importantly, audio. It understands nuances in tone, sarcasm, and emotion in a way that previous models couldn't. It can synthesize voices that are almost indistinguishable from human speech, complete with all the subtle inflections and pauses. This is the crucial leap. The intelligence has finally matured to the point where it can exist outside of the text box. The brain is ready. The next logical step is to build a body for it. And that body is voice. So, what does this new kind of intelligence enable? It enables the end of the GUI as we know it. We've already seen the beginnings of this. We ask our smart speakers for the weather. We use voice commands in our cars. But those are just single-purpose tools. They are the equivalent of a command line prompt in the 1980s. The next big thing is a voice-only operating system. Imagine your computer is a ghost. It's always there, in the room with you, and you can speak to it just as you would a friend or colleague. Computer, what's on my schedule for today? And a calm, synthesized voice responds, giving you a perfect rundown. Draft a reply to Sarah about the budget meeting, and it asks you the right follow-up questions to generate a perfectly worded email. Show me the photos from last week's vacation, and your smart display or a pair of smart glasses projects the images for you. This is the concept of a voice-only or auditory-first operating system, and it's something that Microsoft, Google, and Apple are all racing to build. Microsoft's new voice access features in Windows are a beta test for this future. Right now, it's a hands-free way to use a graphical interface. But the ultimate goal is to remove the visual element entirely. The shift is not just about convenience. It's about a more human way of interacting with technology. For centuries, our primary form of communication has been spoken word. Reading and writing are learned skills. Speech is intuitive. It's what we do. And with the intelligence of something like GPT-5 powering it, this auditory interface won't be a frustrating voice-to-text tool. but a true conversational partner that understands your intent, remembers context, and anticipates your needs. So how does this work on a technical level? It's a complex ecosystem of hardware and software working in perfect harmony. First, you have the hardware. The smartphone in your pocket is a crutch. In a voice-first world, your computer could be a pair of AI-powered earbuds that are always on, always listening for your commands. They would be your microphone, your speaker, and your portal to the digital world. Smart glasses, as we've discussed before, are another key component, providing visual feedback and data overlays when needed, but only when you ask for it. The future of computing is not in a single device, but in a seamless, ambient network of interconnected sensors and speakers. Next, you have the AI model. The magic is in GPT-5's newfound reasoning engine. It's no longer just a word generator. It thinks in steps, revises its own conclusions, and can chain together multiple commands to complete a complex task. You could say, "Computer, book a table for 4 at that Italian restaurant we went to last month for 7 p.m. on Friday, and invite David and Maria." The AI, powered by GPT-5, knows to access your calendar, check your past locations, find the restaurant, check its availability, and send out invitations all from a single, natural language command. It's a completely different level of autonomy. Finally, you have interface design. This is the biggest challenge. For 100 years, UI designers have been taught to think visually. Now, they have to think orally. How do you present a search result with sound? How do you let a user know they've made a mistake without a pop-up error message? It requires a whole new language of auditory cues, tones, and conversational flows. The UX of a voice-only world won't be about elegant icons, but about elegant conversations. So, let's talk about the implications. What happens when we live in a voice-first world? For productivity, it's a game changer. Imagine architects or engineers giving verbal commands while their hands are busy building or drawing. Surgeons accessing patient data or medical images without breaking sterile procedure. Chefs using a voice-only recipe assistant in a busy kitchen. The hands-free promise that we've heard about for years finally becomes a reality. This could free up a huge portion of our time that's currently spent typing, clicking, and swiping. For accessibility, this is a profound win. For the visually impaired or those with motor disabilities, a voice-only interface offers a level of independence and control over technology that was previously unimaginable. It removes the physical barrier of the screen and keyboard, making the digital world truly accessible to all. For daily life, it's about convenience and seamlessness. Your house becomes your computer. You can adjust the lights, order groceries, or check your bank balance just by speaking into the room. It's the ultimate form of ambient computing, where technology fades into the background and becomes a silent, helpful presence in your life. And for creativity, it opens up entirely new possibilities. Imagine a writer dictating an entire novel without ever having to touch a keyboard, or a composer using their voice to orchestrate an entire symphony. The barrier between thought and execution shrinks to almost zero, but as with any profound technological shift, there's a dark side we have to talk about. The transition to a voice-first world is an ethical minefield. The most obvious concern is privacy. A voice-only operating system is, by its very nature, always listening. It has to be to respond to your commands. But where does the line between listening for commands and surveilling your life get drawn? Who owns the data from your conversations? Can your AI overhear a private conversation and use it to better target ads? This is a fundamental change from the current model, where you have to physically interact with a device for it to be active. Then there's the issue of security. How do you authenticate identity with just a voice? How do you know it's really you booking that flight or authorizing that bank transfer? The threat of deepfakes and voice cloning becomes very real. A sophisticated criminal could create a perfect replica of your voice to bypass security protocols, creating new forms of identity theft and fraud that are almost impossible to stop. And what about control and manipulation? An AI that is your constant companion, learning your habits and preferences, has an incredible amount of influence. Could it subtly guide you towards certain purchases or political opinions? Could it create a feedback loop of information that reinforces your biases without you even knowing it? The potential for a biased or manipulative AI to shape our thoughts and decisions is a terrifying prospect. Finally, there's a more philosophical question. What happens to the written word? What happens to literacy? If we no longer need to read or write to interact with computers, will those skills begin to atrophy? The GUI was a revolution, but it was built on a foundation of text and icons. A voice-only world is a revolution that could dismantle that foundation entirely, for better or for worse. The transition from the command line to the GUI in the 1980s was a monumental shift that fundamentally changed our relationship with computers. It made them accessible to everyone. We are on the cusp of a similar, and perhaps even more profound, shift. The move from the GUI to the VUI, the Voice User Interface, GPT-5 is not just a better chatbot. It's the intelligence required to make this new world possible. It's the engine that can power a computer without a screen, a world where our hands are free, our eyes are up, and technology finally melts into the background of our lives. It's a future full of incredible promise, a promise of unprecedented convenience, accessibility, and human-like interaction. But it's also a future full of profound questions about privacy, security, and what it means to be a human in a world where the voice of the computer is as constant and as natural as our own. So, are you ready to live in a world where your voice is your mouse and your keyboard? Do the benefits outweigh the risks? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the future of AI and interfaces, smash the like button, share this video with your tech-curious friends, and subscribe to HaloShift for more explorations of the technologies that are shaping our tomorrow. This is HaloShift, and the future is already speaking.